Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to SimSeniors. Welcome back to Season 6 and to the formal championship in full. It's the Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time to go racing. It's time to have some fun. Now, we're on the 6th round of the season now. We have officially crossed the halfway point. 10 rounds. Round 6 tonight, and it takes us to the Red Bull Ring. But we'll talk about that a bit more in a second. Of course, it's good to be back. Good to have everyone here. Of course, hopefully, we've all recovered from the exciting previous round and all of the twists and turns that brought to us. I'm looking very much forward to tonight. We're going to see a lot of different opportunities for drivers to get some points. We're still going to see some drivers have a very big fighting chance to get themselves within striking distance of the title. And I think it's a good time now to talk about the points themselves. So if we jump across, let's have a look and see where we're at. Taking it from the top, represented by the white numbers, is the gold class. And in the lead of said class is David Lindblom, 129 points in the Ford Mustang. He's got quite a healthy lead on Peter Wolfslener in the 720S with 108. So 21 points gap. That is quite a sizable difference, but not insurmountable. And we've seen Wolfslener continue to put on that pressure over multiple races. In third place, you've got Jimmy Engdahl in the 720S, also with 85 points, and then trailing just a single point behind is Dan Moffat, also in the Mustang. The Mustangs and the McLarens, once again, looking very dominant indeed. Moving on to the silver class, and on to the grey/silver driver numbers. We have Adam Rios in the lead of this one, piloting again the Mustang with 127 points, but it's a much tighter fight in terms of the middle group, because you have Justin Cutler with 5 points difference in the V8 Vantage with 122 points. And then you have Tony McKibben just a single point behind in the Porsche and really taking the fight to the front of this group. Craig Starkey and Dave Cumberbatch round out the top 5 in the Bentley and the Mustang respectively, and then we move on to the bronze, represented by the red numbers. It's going to be Paul Hamby with quite the lead and the highest in-class points total so far with 139. And I believe one of the only drivers on this field to be running the Lamborghini. The only other cars that are doing so being, of course, James Payton in silver. And that is only 2 Lamborghinis, I believe, on track. Then you've got the 2 Ferraris, the 296 GT3s of John Mitchell and Stephen Howes with 116 and 115 points respectively. Jorge Saloma and Alex North round out the top 5 for bronze, and that is where our points currently stand. Of course, if you want to get more involved, see the full points, you want to jump onto our Facebook page, you want to jump into our Discord, and we also have our internal tracker for points on the courtesy of a web-based platform, and we're very thankful to everyone who supports us, be that just with a follow and a like on the stream, or getting really involved, getting stuck in. Even if you're racing tonight, it's going to be good. So where are we racing? We are racing at the Red Bull Ring. We're about to go trackside, folks, so you don't want to go anywhere for that. It's going to be good, it's going to be exciting, but it is just as challenging of a track despite its very simplistic appearance. You've got, of course, the turns 2 and 3, turn 2 being hotly contested as to whether it is in fact a turn or not. But regardless, up the hill very quick, then a sharp hairpin turn 3, heading down through turns 4 and 5, and then it's a final shot down the hill, being very careful of the track limits on the final corner because it's very easy to overshoot that, and then you are done with the lap. So that is where we are going to be heading tonight, folks. Let us know who you think is going to be the one to watch, or at least the one that you feel you'll want to keep an eye on. And with that in mind, we're going to be going trackside. Richard Cook leads the way in the, certainly interesting livery on that Bentley there. And we're going to jump straight in. We're going to waste absolutely zero time and see what he can do. So keep in mind, 15-minute qualifying session and then a 60-minute race. The drivers have got plenty of time to get some good runs in, but as the number 182 Aldi Mobile of Richard Cook, it was a bit of a contrast there, considering you're driving a Bentley with Aldi with Aldi sponsoring. It's certainly a contrast, I'll give him that. But here we go. Cook now coming through. As we're going to see a little bit of traffic come around the course. One of the Ferraris just joining on the track. And we'll see the kind of pace that this Bentley is going to be putting down. Very nice through turn 3. Jumping quickly on the power. This is where setup is going to be especially important. Having the grip as you power out of the corner is so crucial here at the Austria. Also, previously, in another life, the A1 ring, if we really want to go back in the history books. But now simply referred to as the Red Bull ring. So here we are, very clean lap thus far from Cook. Was going to be the first one on the board to set a time. As we come through, final couple of corners here, already pushing to the absolute maximum. Final corner now. And as we come through, start-finish line here, what time is it going to be? It's a 30.080 from Cook. Are we going to see anyone make a meaningful challenge? We've got a few different cars coming through now. Simon Aid is going to be coming up next. It's going to be on the silvers. Peyton with a 130.357. Holmberg with a 0.4, along with Wilson. Mellon going 0.565. Howells also as well. Invalidation for Sean O'Neill, unfortunately, so he's not going to be taking away that one. But the field very quickly filing into order. Some very good times coming through. 30.505. That's going to put Simon Aid in 10th place, although he's quickly being displaced down the field as more cars are coming through. We're going to jump on board with, of course, the current leader. The leader of the gold class is Lindblom, number 888 car, and that Mustang looking absolutely rapid in the rounds that we've seen him. What times is it going to be? Remember, anything in the 129s is going to be an immediate game changer, and he's going to go even further. That is going to be an 28.827. We had Zintas with a 29.3, Serrano with 29.6, and then McNair and Damien Reed, interestingly enough, with 29.7. So quite a few cars coming out swinging. Hamby, 30.0. Very impressive run indeed. And then you've got a few cars who have yet to put something down on the board. Derek Neve, the number 39. Pushing hard to try and get himself on the board. Just in the 130s would already be enough to put him in P25. We have 32 cars racing today, folks. Of course, we're going to have plenty of battling on the track. So not the highest complexity, but that almost plays in its favour. It means that drivers can settle the scores and they can go wheel to wheel for some high-octane racing action. 5 minutes of qualifying down. What's the times coming through here? Derek Neve, 30.647. That's going to put him, as predicted, at 25th place. Jumping on board with Robert Homer, the very bright Pink Panther adorned Porsche 992. 30.7, 30.5 to beat. What's it going to be as he crosses the line? It's going to be quite the improvement. That is a 29.8, and that is putting him in 11th place here. So that, I believe, is also going to put him 7th in class, which is crazy because we have Chris Wilson at the sharp end of the field looking like an absolute rocket with a 29.5. That car is not to be trifled with. Few more runners now coming through. Let's see who is going to be seeing some improvements. Richard Cook, of course, first one out on the field earlier, is one to need some improvement here. 30.0. Is there going to be a jump? Yes, there is. 29.5. Brilliant first sector. In fact, fastest first sector. That's going to put him 6th in class here. Peyton also making a bit of an improvement, it seems. 0.767. It's 13th place. Derek Neve. Of course, we just saw him make a lap. Is he going to get some good momentum and start to chip away by a few tenths? He's now been displaced to 27th. So time pressure is very much on. Does make an improvement, but it's not quite enough. So that speed is not going to be playing in its favour. Trevor Waite, number 52 car, so number 131. He needs to get at least a second chopped off if he wants to be in fighting form. And he is going to get that. 29.6. That puts him in 16th place. Pedro Serrano going to be next one through. 29.5 up to a 29.2. And that is going to lead him. That is going to put him top of the Silvers. Very impressive stuff. We've got Paul Hamby in 11th. Let's keep an eye on him quickly. See what kind of push he was able to do here. This is going to be the, what's the Lamborghini, the lead Lamborghini. 29.5 to beat. He's already clear of Howells by about 0.2 of a second. So not insurmountable of a gap, but certainly enough to put some distance and spacing between. Are we going to see improvement from Hamby? No, Hamby is going to abandon and is going to head into the pit lane. So that just leaves a few more cars out. I'm going to jump aboard quickly with Starkey. Was in the Bentley. Going to be jumping in at P25. So an improvement, but not quite the improvement that he's necessarily looking for. Next, we've got Colin McNair, league owner. And we look at the top of the field, we can see that Wolfslener is putting out that challenge. He's really pushing Lindblom to the ragged edge, and these two have been fighting for multiple rounds. Quali is no different. 28.727 puts him exactly a 10th ahead of Lindblom. We've got Colin McNair coming across the line and putting a very impressive 29 flat on this board. Amazing stuff there, because that has now put him leader silver. Well, we have Paul Wallace. I'm going to jump quickly with him there in the BMW because he has snuck under everyone's radars and has got himself into P13, leader bronze. Great stuff there from the Beamer. James Payton now. Crossing number 248 car, 29.427. Very impressive moves. He's going to be landing himself firmly in 4th. 11 out on track. And if you want to get into the top 15, you're going to need at least a 29.4. That is the benchmark. We have a new record out on track. That's going to be David Lindblom. And looks like he's going to be going for it once again. He's currently on top pace. He's on purple pace. This could be a fastest lap still. 28.510. Such a great time. That's going to be very difficult to beat. Let's jump on board with him here. As we come to the final 5 minutes of qualifying here, a lot is riding on these next few laps for these drivers. Now, under significant pressure. Are they going to be able to hold their own, keep their heads cool, or are they going to crush and succumb to it? Final corner now, very close to the track limits there. For Lindblom, is it going to be enough? It's looking like a rocket of a time, and yes it is. Perfect lap from the Mustang. That is going to put him 2.55, quarter of a second and half a second clear of Wolfslener. How is that McLaren going to respond to this challenge? That's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm here to see. Is there going to be a meaningful response, or is this quali as good as over for the pros? We've got a few more cars now pushing out because they know that they're running thin on time. Carl Thompson. Fortunately, it looks like there's been a livery issue on his part. So we'll try and fix that during the intermission. Not sure why that has occurred, but regardless, we will press on. Either way, 29th position out of 32. 30.1, so there's no cars any slower than a 30.4 here on this track. Let's see what they can do here. Coming through. Final corner now. Carl Thompson. And That is going to be a 29.9. That's going to put him 26th, so not quite an improvement in terms of positioning. And now he's just been displaced to 27th by Starkey. But still, improvement is improvement, and as long as he's getting more comfortable on pace on the track, that is what matters. Wolfslener has just set a new personal best, 28.682, but it's not even close to touching Lindblom's new fastest lap. 0.255, remember, is the time to beat, is the fastest lap of the session, and that is still about half a second clear of this McLaren. Zintas is going to be taking a shot at it in the BMW. It's going to be third for the gold class. And with just 2.5 minutes left to go in qualifying, time has begun to wear thin for all of them. If there's going to be any time to make some moves, now would be preferable. They need to nail these next couple of laps. And so far, it looks like we're going to see some improvements, but not necessarily enough to gain some major positions. We've got Serrano coming up to the line here, 6th position. A jump of a couple of tenths could put him into P5. Is it going to be enough? It's going to be more than enough. Brilliant final sector. That's going to put him in P3. 0.852. He's going to leapfrog Zintas and Hailstrom to put himself on the podium spot and into the second row coming out of qualifying. Meanwhile, you've got a couple of other cars pushing around. Wolfslener not getting an improvement that he needs, and then a few other cars are going to be pushing. Zintas, is there going to be a response from the BMW? Is he going to leapfrog back across from Serrano? Coming up to the line now, and it's going to be enough. 0.785. Of course, there's not going to be a position gained for his cause, but it's still going to be what he needs. He's going to now be able to fight against Wolfslener and Lindblom, put them under significant pressure right from the get-go. A couple of cars. So Holmberg now coming through. This is going to be another one of the McLarens. And with just a minute left to go in qualifying, we're seeing more and more cars pull into the pit. Realizing that there's not enough time to be gained to warrant another run. So Holmberg, the number 231 McLaren. Is there going to be an improvement here? Unfortunately not. Not going to iterate on the 0.275. He's not going to be able to commit that one to the boards. Even Howells, the Milwaukee Ferrari. The number 969 car, 29.677 to beat. Is it going to be an improvement? Wowee, is that going to be an improvement ever? That is P10 jumping up and taking the lead of bronze quite comfortably. Is there going to be a response from any of the bronze runners? We've got Wallace here. As we come to the final 10 seconds, time is officially running out. And anyone not crossing the line after this point is going to have to put their run as the final. So we see a lot of the drivers already in the pits here. They have decided that they have had enough. And looks like Zintas has taken a surprise swing, 0.002 of a second into the second spot. Wallace is going to be one to watch as we come through. Final corner now. Is there going to be an improvement from the Beamer? No such thing. That leaves Hamby for the bronze. Of course, started out extremely strong, but hasn't quite carried that momentum in the same way. Got Trevor Waite as well. Coming across the line now is going to improve quite substantially. He's going to put himself third in silver with a very good run, 29.195. That just leaves a couple of other cars. We've got Hamby coming across the final couple of corners, but looking very shaky. That's invalidated his lap. He's gone off track. He is not going to be able to bring that one home. Aldhouse, one of the Ferraris, and the one we haven't really paid all that much attention to, going to be finishing his lap now. Tony McKibben has just jumped up into P6. Are we going to say the see the same kind of jump from Aldhouse? Unfortunately not. It's 22nd, and that is qualifying done, folks. And you can see here everyone out in field and on cue. That's going to be Lindblom along with Zintas Reitz and Peter Wolfslener taking first, second and third for gold. And congratulations to Lindblom on pole position. Pedro Serrano is going to be taking a surprise swing for silver and taking first place for qualifying in that group alongside Tony McKibben and Colin McNair. A very strong lineup for the silvers too. And then rounding it out with the bronze class, it's going to be Stephen Howes, followed by Paul Wallace and Paul Hamby. Great running from all of our drivers here. And of course, as we move on into the full race session, we'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to take a brief technical pause and then we'll be right back with you trackside for the race itself. Catch you very soon, folks. We'll be right back with you. And we are back, folks. Thanks for the patience on that one. And we are going to be jumping into the race. Now, if you've been here before, you know how this works. It's a 60-minute race. It's a mandatory pit stop race as well, so you have to at least jump in for fuel. You can take the option for tyres also, but that is entirely your choice. So whether you go for a short stop and try to manage the rubber, or you go for a fresh set of boots and go full push for much longer, that is your call to make, and that's part of the charm and part of the strategic challenge of a race like this. It's of course the Red Bull Ring, so one of the more technical tracks despite its very simple looking appearance. The technicality comes not from the number of corners, but the unique challenges each one of them presents. Take the last corner for instance. It's a simple right-hander, but simultaneously you have to power out at the right time. You have to manage the camber, manage the incline, and how that all plays into your setup, your suspension geometry, your downforce. It's all going to be important. So we are here, of course, after an electrifying qualifying, and we are now on the formation lap. You can see everyone is filing out there, but it looks like we've got a couple of cars who aren't quite making the movements that they need to, but let's see, regardless, what is happening here. Is going to be cars trying to get into ideal position. Of course, let us know who you are keeping your eyes on in tonight's race. Of course, we have just had a brilliant qualifying, and it has seen some absolutely brilliant times come out from the top end of the field. Lindblom continues to show his one-lap pace dominance and making quite the statement in qualifying, beating out the likes of Zintar's Wolfslenner and Serrano just behind by about 0.4 of a second. Now trying to get heat into the tyres, get everything up to ideal operating temperature. See a few cars jumping up and down the field, just trying to get into the right positions ahead of the point where everyone files double and then gets themselves down to 60 Ks, ready for the race. So let's see who is going to come out on top here tonight. Because now we are going to be jumping the pace right down. All the way down to 40 briefly to give everyone a chance to catch up. Although careful as we slow down. A bit of a concertina effect. Can very quickly sweep the field up. So as soon as the leader gets the call, it's time to go racing. As soon as we hear from race control, the hour marker will drop. The race will begin. But the track is hot here in Austria, here at the Red Bull Ring. And let's see some great racing. 60 minutes. And that is green light, green flag. We are go, go, go here at the Red Bull Ring. Immediately a great start from Lindblom trying to get out to the line. So Zintar's going to go for the challenge, take the inside line. 2 by 2 as we go through. Few drivers already getting a little bit antsy coming out of the first corner. Bit of fighting. We're going to see a couple of cars straight off the course. We're seeing yellows coming out for so many cars. And it looks like we have had a major incident at the back of the field. Let's see, jumping up to the back of the field. We're on board with Barham. So that is going to be a car firing it around the edge there. That is Neil going completely wide of the course. Serrano going to go for a move as well on the front of this field. Let's see what they can do here. So Serrano, one to watch. Currently sat in 4th place. Was going for a challenge on Wolfslenner. Hasn't quite got the move done. Got Trevor on his own, needing a little bit of room. Colin just a bit further afield, taking a much wider arc through the corner. We see Cumberbatch and McNair. That's Jordan right there, taking a bit of a battle into turn 6. Jordan is not giving him an inch there. He wants that position. He is not letting it go. Hell nor high water will stop him from challenging for that P22. Our first lap completing already. A little bit of diciness from some of this field. And looking like an unbelievable start for the likes of the front. We jump with Zintas and Lindblom. You can see he's already broken out a little bit of a gap there. This is Wilson fighting alongside Cook heading into turn 3. He's going to drop the position not only to Cook but to Howes as they're going to be going side by side, fighting each other for position. One of them needs to lay claim to the apex before turn 4. Who is it going to be? There's a couple more cars going in, out, right to left. Challenging for apex, challenging for track space. Oh, big slip on the rear from Wilson. That is going to drop some serious pace and put him right in the clutches of Howes. But Howes isn't going to capitalise here. not going to be taking that push. A few more cars coming through now. For instance, McKibben kept fairly to himself. Didn't want any real trouble. But if we take a quick look back as well, some of the incidents that occurred on that first lap. Let's take a quick look. This is on board with the number 248 car. This is James Payton. Here's POV of the start procedure. Let's see where things go wrong. See a little bit of late braking, big contact between some big traffic jam. But actually not that much in the way of an accident, just a little bit of an overextension. Which I can't say I mind. Looks like the number 33 car also took a little bit of a hammering in the form of a drive-through penalty that they needed to have cleared. And they also had a little bit of an altercation here. We're on board with Andy Goddard now. Heading in. It looks like he just overextended wide to take a position on the corner. I've got to say, some curious calls for yellow flags. But here we go. Urso and Hughes. There's going to be a very clean move for Hughes there. Nicely done on the inside. No fuss, no drama. Just had the lock in and the better exit. More Colin McNair. Jumping through here, putting down some good pace lap to lap. And the leaders are starting to make a breakaway, however. So McNair's trying to chase down Serrano for the lead of the Silvers. So that is looking at some of the moves from earlier. You can see why you want to get the elbows out on a race like this and on a track like this as well, but is always within logistical limits and of course keeping it within the limits of the track. So going to be a little bit of adjustment needed from these drivers in order to make it around this course in one piece. Otherwise they will find themselves in a hefty amount of trouble. Lindblom currently sat with the fastest lap of the race, 28.6. Quite the pace setter being put down, and not too dissimilar from the quali pace. So it goes to show immediately how hard these lead drivers are pushing. That's within striking distance of their quali time. Going to see if Colin can take a little bit more pace, but for now, this is where we hop off of the Iron Brew Wild Ride. When we jump a bit further down, we see Chris Wilson trying to chase down Richard Cook, and then you also have McKibben and Waite taking a little bit of a duel between each other. This is going to be quite the fight between McKibben briefly taking the fight to him in the McLaren. No dice, unfortunately, for him. But there's Richard Cook. He's going to be peeking around the inside. Is there going to be an attack on McKibben? And oh, big contact through turn 3. That is quite the unfortunate incident for McKibben. He's going to be put down now to P15. Down from 9th. Cook is not going to be happy with that one. And McKibben is certainly going to have some choice words if left if left unchallenged. But even further down, you got Mark Hughes trying to chase down after a brilliant move on the likes of Urso earlier. He's kept some good momentum and is now trying to chase down, get at least out of the 20s. Aldhouse here, Simonade a bit further up the road. Got his sights set. Hellstrom, though, is not going to make that an easy task. You can see he jumps across the curbs a little bit. That's going to be Hellstrom's chance Going to fire it down the inside in the McLaren. Is there going to be any challenge coming in from Hughes? Hughes is going to keep it tied to the outside. He's going to have no choice but to dip behind, however, as we head into the last corner. A little bit of an extension on track limits. Slip angle coming in as we cross the final corner. Grips up as the incline adjusts to level. And that is going to be Robert Homer taking some big positional drops as well. The number 6 car having a little bit of trouble, it seems. Let's jump back a bit. Nope, looks like the replay doesn't want to go that far. When you specify a longer timing and it doesn't quite work. Cumberbatch dropping down to P19 as Gary Barham is, of course, trying to push and get some ground to close in. Cumberbatch taking a bit of an excursion off of turn 4. Noticing that we don't have some of the usual suspects here tonight, which I always seem to wonder about. So, for instance, we don't have a Dan Moffat here tonight, and he's one to watch, being the second Mustang that has put down some brilliant pace lap in, lap out. We've got Colin McNair here. He is going to be really putting some pressure down on the BMW of Pedro Serrano. Serrano going a little bit wide here, but McNair doing the same. Is there going to be a movement between the two? As that is going to be McNair peeking to the left. Not going for a chance just yet. Through turn 2, the gentle bend. He could set himself up here. Peeks it down to the right side. Looks for the apex. Is going to see that Serrano is just a little bit too far ahead, at least for now. But the fight continues. Down out of turn 3. Heading into 4. Someone has got to yield. This is the thing with this kind of battle. Eventually, they are going to get side by side, and someone is going to have to pull back. Otherwise, they are both going to be in some serious trouble. McNair to keep an eye on himself. Not get himself into too much trouble. It's the name of the game here. Of course, send it, but don't put yourself in a position where you are either taking the corner or taking yourself out, potentially your opponent. Hellstrom taking quite the positional hit. We just saw him drop down at quite a few places. But he's down on P23 right now. McNair is going to continue that pressure, but we also have a couple of movements around the midfile. Matthias Holmberg is going to be another car who has had to take a pit stop and seemingly is struggling quite significantly. You can see they just in the distance peel off to the edge of the circuit. Is not having a great time in regards to keeping their race under control. Hellstrom continues to push as Althouse is right ahead of him. Hughes has not managed to get the move done, and in fact has dropped behind now. As we can see, Sean O'Neill and Colin McNair are chasing each other, fighting for the spots as well. See that, Sean peeking to the left. Of course, McNair trying to chase Serrano down and getting so close has meant that he's more susceptible to his dirty air. And that has put him at a bit of a grip disadvantage through some of these corners, allowing Sean to get in and get ahead. O'Neill racing against the clock here because he wants to ideally get some moves done and get a bit of track space before we head into the halfway point and into that vital track and pit window. That is the other side of this race that we need to talk about, because the pit strategy is going to be such a crucial element. It's such a crucial element that drivers will often completely change how they're approaching the race if it means getting ahead of the pit windows of others. Robert Homer, again, struggling for a bit of pace. What has happened to that Porsche? We see just here, brief cut of the replay, and indeed it does look like he did have a slide coming out of the final corner. So he's dropped down once again, this time to P19. Bit too much send there, unfortunately. Now, I know the Porsche is renowned for some of its slip angle and being able to take a lot of that rearward grip and translate it into a good turn-in. Simultaneously, that can go too far. You can overdo it. And if your setup leans into that characteristic too hard, what you get is an unstable platform you can't always trust. Cumberbatch and Barham continuing to challenge each other for track. We also have at the front, we have McNair and Serrano taking a brief excursion to one another's positions. McNair peeks to the left, peeks to the right, looks for a chance to get in, has a good exit, and then coming into the final sector, we could see him take it. No, that's going to be Serrano on the racing line, not going majorly defensive by going narrow. McNair responding in kind by going back to the racing line. But a good exit there and a poor one from Serrano. This could be the chance for McNair to take the lead for silver. Great run down the inside. He's going to have command of the corner as we head into turn 1. Is this going to be enough, though, for him to confirm the move? Forces, in a way, Serrano to yield there as we see them almost coming into blows. And Serrano's not only going to concede the position, but he's going to drop further behind O'Neill. And even Ostrachar's looking extremely close to taking the spot there from him. See Simon Aid and Mark Hughes drag racing for P24 here. Hughes, of course, wanting to take some upward trajectory and wanting to catch up to the likes of Jordan and Wallace, because those two are the drivers that matter. Aid, as fast of a driver as he is not Hughes' concern. He just wants to get past him so he can actually fight with the drivers of his respective class. That is the linchpin of this operation for him. As we see them to continue their side-by-side battles, it's looking like, certainly for the moment, things could go either way. Trebleway stuck in a bit of a rock and a hard place. Ostrachar's ahead, Cook behind. Doesn't have really the breathing room to try any rash moves because Cook is only getting closer. So he needs to think on his feet, he needs to be able to adapt, maybe go a little bit more defensively in favour of protecting his position rather than going hyper-aggressive to try and take Ostrachar's and leave him in a poor spot. Cook and Wait very close to one another. Cook could be eyeing up a move here. Turn 4 potentially has the apex. Little bit of contact between the two. Oh, big contact between the two. That is not looking good for Trevor at all. Both him and Cook off the track. Let's take a replay, see exactly what happened. And unfortunately, it looks like the shift changed, but you can just see in the seconds of that replay cam that that was in fact Trevor now jumping into the pits after that unfortunate excursion. McNair, meanwhile, jumping up into P4, leading silver. Few more cars to keep an eye on. Of course, we have McNair leading the silver. Lindblom leads the gold class. And we haven't really looked at the top of the field here. And to be honest, that is because things have been fairly calm and quiet in terms of the top 3. I mean, look at Lindblom's position compared to where we just were. Look at, for instance, Cumberbatch. We jump aboard with him, we can see that he's going for a drag race against James Payton. And you compare that with the top 3. And they're all just in their own space. You have a massive cluster of drivers in this mid-pack. And then you have Lindblom 6.5 seconds ahead of Zintas. And then 3 seconds himself ahead of Wolfslener. With 8.2 seconds separating him and Colin. Well, Colin's necessarily not a horse in the race. top 4 are just in their own zone. They have no real competition or threat to speak of. That lack of meaningful threat means that they can effectively treat this as if this was a qualifying session, a hot lapping session. The only major difference is, of course, you will encounter traffic at some point, and you may need to be a little bit more conscientious of resource conservation. So fuel and your tyres, of course, being the main concern, but also keeping an eye on things like your brakes, managing your brake temperatures. Going too aggressive on the braking or locking up, that can mean you put your braking temps significantly out of shape. That will result in some undesirable performance. Very impressive driving here from Damien Reed. It's currently sat 5th in class, defending from Starkey right now. You can see going very hard on that defensive byline. Not leaving anything to chance here. Bentley is going to be looking around and sniffing for an opportunity to get past. Facing the music here. Reed trying his best to get himself into a bit more of a defensive position where he doesn't have to go so aggressively inland to protect a spot. Patrick Larson going for an attack now. This could be P9 in his hands. He's going to be drag racing against Chris Wilson for it. Looking sharp, looking alive, coming into turn 3. It looks like he has the move fairly accomplished there. Great stuff from this McLaren. McKibben. Oh, McKibben is round. McKibben is round. Let's take a quick look and see exactly what happened there. We jump on board the helicopter. So heading into turn 2, all things are nominal. Was jumping across the curbs a little bit too far to the left. That is going to be, oh, big send. That was a big send, I have to say, from the likes of Starkey and Wilson. In fact, Starkey now dropping back a couple of positions, but yes, somewhat optimistic there from all of the involved. Oh no, that's Howells, my mistake. Not Wilson. Do apologise there, but yes, coming from very far back, that one was. So in my opinion, that was not a move that you necessarily want to be making. Adam Ostrichaz. On a mission here. Taking P6, starts to catch up. Serrano is all that stands in his way. It's Beamer v Beamer. Rochelle's going for a bit more of a conservative approach. Not necessarily going hyper aggressive. In fact, lost a lot of time on the first sector, but braking very deep into turn 4. He's trying to eventually pressure and force the likes of Serrano into a mistake, because he wants to catch up to O'Neill. O'Neill is in a very good spot because he's been flanked either side by the likes of the Silvers. Which means that his P4 spot in this table is fairly well secured. He's 11 seconds away from Wolfslener, and he's 4.5 seconds away from Ostrichaz. got to say, he's one of the safer positions to be in right now. Although I would not rest on your laurels. No driver is insurmountable, no gap is unclosable. O'Neill is still going to have to race hard. Potentially even put McNair between himself and Serrano. Bring those two closer together, allow them to fight, run off into the sunset. Strategy options in terms of on track, the macro as well as the micro. Both are going to play into this scenario. Very good overtake from Sean O'Neill. Number 333 car looking very fast and very impressive. Bit of a mid-pack battle going on. James Payton is going to be right at the epicenter of it all. We just closed in on Dave Cumberbatch, but Cumberbatch has just managed to get a breakaway. Payton going very defensive from the likes of Barham as we go into turn 4 here. The McLaren looking relentless. Looking like an absolute machine as we come through into the final sector. Speeding through, fighting hard. Cumberbatch on Starkey as well, jumping a bit further. This is the battle. John O'Neill has got himself into 4th. This is the battle for P4 in silver. Austria has made a bit of a graduation. He's got himself up into P6. He's bifurcated the likes of Serrano and McNair here. So he's got a bit of breathing room and a bit of a gap to climb. How well is he going to be able to do that before Serrano starts to close in again? Howes is going to be making it a difficult struggle, as that is going to be the Ferrari on the inside. And the Ferrari in a bronze, I have to say, outdone himself. Even in this stage of the race where we haven't got to the halfway point yet, it is clear the kind of pace that Howes is capable of putting it down. Fighting toe-to-toe with the top brass in the championship. That is no small feat. One that definitely deserves commendation. As we have seen, the bronze class tend to have a pattern like this. They have a couple of drivers that always impress and never fail to push the limits of what bronze driver can be. So we do see some freak results like this. We see P8 being taken by bronze. We see an immense qualifying time coming out from, let's say, the likes of Hamby, or just a brilliant result, brilliant finish through consistency alone. One of the tracks and traits that drivers tend to fail on the most. You can have some excellent pace, but the harder thing to train is the consistency of that pace. A 14.0 is no good if you can only get it once every 20 times. A consistent 14.2 is better. Because think of the time that you save over a longer distance versus shorter. And if you can't do that, then you stick with the slower, more consistent strategy. For an enduro race like this, you cannot be playing around because those seconds will add up. You have more time to gain them back, but it also means your opponents have more time to grow them. It's the push and pull of longer distance races such as this one. Meanwhile, Hellstrom and McKibben, these two have been duking it out a little bit now in the sideline. And McKibben is coming in with a bone to pick. With a lot of drivers on this field and a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, I feel. He, of course, had to suffer multiple incidents throughout this race. Having to cope with that, to deal with that. And still pushing to try and get back into the top 10s. Certainly got your work cut out for you, McKibben. For that, I salute you. You continue to race and fight the good fight. He's 17 now, but we may see that change in the future. Simon Aid is going to be heading into the pits. They're going to join the likes of Goddard, Holmberg, Thompson, and Jordan McNair in having taken a pit stop here in tonight's race. McKibben is finally going to go for that move on Hellstrom. He's going to take the inside line heading into turn 3. Both going to go side by side with a fairly clean exit. Hellstrom, in fact, extending the track limits and going slightly wide in order to retain that fight there. I'm not sure if there's going to be scrutiny on that one. McKibben, though, is not going to let that slide. He's going to remain on the inside. He's going to take the apex into turn 4. He's not going to be taking no for an answer as he pushes into P16, affirms the place with a very nice overtake. So we are now coming into the halfway point of the race, folks. And your current standings are fairly well established. You have Lindblom in first position with some of the best laps of this field, 28.887, extremely impressive time for the fastest lap of this course. Zintarsrates takes the second spot alongside Peter Wolfslener in third. Along that, you then move on to the silvers, and in said silvers, as you have a few more cars heading into the pits, Colin McNair, league owner, now owning the silver field. You have also Pedro Serrano and Craig Starkey taking second and third. Moving on to bronze, of course we have had a few drivers like Howells, for instance. Howells has jumped into the pits. But a few of them have taken some precautions, jumped on the pit stop at right on halfway through, so trying to optimize as much as they can here. Wallace is going to inherit the lead for bronze. But whether that will stay after the pit stops of his own, we will have to, of course, wait and see. With Hughes alongside and then Paul Hamby in third. A question I have on my mind is Hamby has dropped a little bit of pace compared to prior runnings. Not sure where that's gone. Could that be an Austria thing, a weather thing, a car thing? One can only wonder. Either way, he has dropped down a little bit on the pacing. And he's in the defensive position now. He cannot afford to be dropping points in such a manner. A few more cars now heading into the pits. Hamby, Hailstrom, Ostrachaz all in the pit now. Meaning that we have almost half the field taking their stops. Remember, 32 starters, now 30 racers in total. And of those 30 racers, we have, I believe, 18 of them yet to pit. They're coming in hot, coming in close. We look at the front and we can see Lindblom, race leader, in the pits now, which means that Zintars is going to inherit this race lead. See the Mustang pulling in. You also got pit for a few more cars coming through. Serrano and Larson were also going to be heading into the pits here. Starkey's going to follow suit. A lot of drivers taking it right around this midpoint. So the order is going to massively, massively change. Zintars, of course, taking the lead with Wolfslener, McNair, Cumberbatch and Payton all taking spots. You can see the flurry of cars coming through. That is going to be our race leader out of the pits. That's Lindblom. You're going to be seeing a couple more cars coming out of the pits as well. There's going to be Carl Thompson leaving the pits. Oldhouse coming into the pits. Goddard once again going in. And Hughes remaining out while trying to remain on the defensive from Damien Reed.
So that leaves 9 cars remaining to take a pit. Fight hard and fight as racers would. We're officially out of the major pit stop period, folks, and it looks like we have got ourselves quite the shake-up in this grid order. Too many cars at once in the pits can introduce some seismic shifts.
And that is exactly what we've seen here. McKibbin once again back down to P19. The drive is very real for all of these cars to push themselves to the limit. And an interesting thought with racing is not necessarily how the drivers race. As you can see Peyton and McNair heading into the pit themselves. Let's jump aboard with the likes of, let's say, Mark Hughes. If I can find him. Here we go, Mark Hughes. Now, Mark Hughes has got Reed on the back of him. And Reed is not going to go for that move right away. Now, Reed is, to put it affectionately, he's going to be exhibiting a form of almost soft power over Hughes. Because what Reed is going to do is Reed's going to try and close the gap. But he's not going to go for the overtake. Reed is going to stay behind. Peek for moves. Potentially gauge moves. But he's not going to go for him. Why? Well, he's not going to go for him because he doesn't need to. If he was to stay out and get, say, within half a second, just the presence of his car there, that is exhibiting pressure. That is exerting pressure on his opponent. And enough of that pressure and impatience to shake him off his tail is going to be what allows him to then take the move by nature of a mistake rather than nature of a real overtake. Not to say that the overtake isn't real, but that he's not going to have to work as hard for it because he'll just be capitalizing on the mistake of his opponents rather than trying to find extra pace on top of the likelihood he's already pushing at near maximum. John McNair heading back into the pit now. We're going to see exactly what happened. Not sure what's happened here. McNair looking by all accounts in a good position, but just span around on the track. And did he get beached? He must have got beached because he's gone back into the pit lane. Not really sure what to make of that one. Holmberg is in for a second time now. Reed now coming out of the pits is going to be coming out P20. And we see a trade at the top as Wolfslener and Rates are both now in, leaving Mark Hughes to come in and for a, albeit very brief moment, have a bronze class driver take the lead of the race. Was both heading into the pits. Lindblom, though, is going to be 7 seconds behind, and even if Hughes hasn't taken his stop, it looks like Lindblom is going to be catching up very quickly. For context, folks, the 30.350 is Mark Hughes' best lap. Lindblom's is a 28.535. The difference in pace is quite the chasm. And Lindblom, given no drivers around him, is going to leverage that. Brief technical issue resolved there. Hellstrom into the pits. for a second time. Not sure if there is a particular reason behind that, but we can see a few more cars heading into this pit lane. Homburg, Jordan McNair. Have they incurred some kind of damage that they're having to stick in and repair for? Because I'm not seeing what they are seeing. Barham going to be chasing down as well. This is Cumberbatch. Fight for P13. It's a very deep diffuser I'm noticing on that Mustang. I don't know. Let us know what you think of white painted splitters. Personally, not my bag. I think they should always be black or carbon. But let us know what you think of white coloured splitters on cars. Whoa, big excursion off track for Cumberbatch. This is going to be a chance if Gary Barham is ever going to get one. So jumping up into P12 as Hughes is also going to be giving a free position in the pits. And that leaves Lindblom once again in the lead of the race. And now that gap has grown to 15.3 seconds. Ridiculous push and ridiculous pace from Lindblom. That is going to see him easily build up a substantial gap. And for context, folks, the average pit stop has taken 30 seconds. Dean Tiles has got 15 of those on track on merit. Just to put in perspective the kind of pace difference that we are dealing with. Seriously, Homburg, McNair, they remain in the pits and they have been so for over 3 minutes. Jordan McNair for over 4 minutes now, and it's going to very soon be at 5. I wonder if this is just a soft retirement from the race, or whether there is something else going on there. Wolfsledder chasing Zintal's rates down. Let's check on board with him. He's trying to close that gap as much as he can. And see what we mean about that soft power argument that was coming out before. We have ourselves a scenario where Wolfsledder is very keen to get past the BMW, but it's just not quite materializing yet. You can see how he peeks around and looks for ways to try and close in, braking a bit later, modifying their line slightly. Not quite going their way yet. Time will yet tell, however, and that is going to be the thing he relies on. We also have a similar story out back, or a bit further down in P13. Cumberbatch is within a few tenths of Gary Barham, and Gary Barham, of course, taking the position away from Cumberbatch not too long ago, and the Mustang is looking for it back. They said that you had enough borrow time and it's time to return your position to the library. Match closing in. Looks like we had a bit of an issue for Wolfsledder, but let's take a quick look and see exactly what happened, because it dropped about 5 seconds. You can see here, right on the back of Zintal's, peaks to the left, or peaks to the right, and then swings out very deep to the left, and fortunately looks like he just had a bit of lift off oversteer that he had to correct for, get his car back into gear and then power in again. But that is a very costly 4.5 seconds.
that Wolfslander just does not need in his situation. He was trying to catch up and get himself on the front row, so to speak, even though qualifying isn't here anymore. Do still want to get on those top two. Just something a bit more symbolic about that silver. And now looking ahead, looking to this field. We jump up, we can see Lindblom not quite putting the same pace lap to lap, but he currently sat with the fastest lap and over 16 seconds clear of this field. We have Zintas Retz in second place with a similarly high initial lap pace, but now is encountering a bit of lapped traffic himself, which is going to complicate matters. And then Wolfslander with a big mistake coming out turn 3. He's dropped himself several seconds away from Zintas, but the fight is not over yet. Remember, folks, still 16 minutes here. And 16 minutes is a lot of time. It's time to do a lot of things on this course, like we were about to see with Dave Cumberbatch. He came down the inside of turn 3. Chasing down the spot from Barham in the McLaren. Does not want to let that go within an inch of its life. They, of course, fight through turn 3. They're going to go into turn 4 now. That is going to be Barham taking a little bit more exit speed, but Cumberbatch still has the narrower line. He's going to peek that Mustang back through. It looks like he has about a car's length, but Barham is not going to let him take it so easily. He's going to remain on the inside as we go through into the third sector now. These two continue to battle at it. Someone is going to have to yield by the final corner. Looks like Barham is back through, at least for the preliminary stage of this attack. But this is on board with the bonnet of Cumberbatch. He's not going to take that one lying down. Going to jump straight into the thick of it. He's going to push it once again against Barham. Both of them make contact through the final corner. Both of them going wide off of the circuit. And this is going to be a big jump. McKibben has a chance to get past now. Payton is going to follow behind. This could be the Porsche's big break as they jump right into the middle of this battle. Cumberbatch suddenly in massive trouble here after that little excursion with Barham. Barham has come out okay, but McKibben is almost a second behind, and then Cumberbatch is going to be further than they initially thought. James Payton is going to be on the radar too, but they do not want to be getting involved in this fight necessarily. They want the rest of the field to jump in, to handle this themselves, and like a vulture, he wants to sweep in and take the spoils when the time is over. But let them fight. Let them challenge. He will come. Oh, but Cumberbatch, though, unfortunately, we just saw there, lost the car and is in P16 after a quick recovery, has to be said. Very unfortunate for him, though. Let's just take a little bit of a different view of that incident so you can see he's got himself with one of the Porsches of McKibben just up ahead. Tries to power out, a little bit too much rotation, big bump into the wall, and that is in fact going to dislodge the hood of his car. That is where we're currently at with him, and he may see a little bit of aerodynamics damage. Damien Reed is going to be looking for a chance to get past Robert Homer. He peeks for the ride, decides against it, however. Now, folks, everyone has taken their pit stop, which means that it is just a straight shot from here to the finish for all racers on this course. And Damien's taken that a little bit literally. He's going to be pushing through into turn 3, inside line, still leaving some space on the curb. Number 979 is, at least for now, comfortably in 17th place. I wouldn't hold on to it just yet because Robert Homer is a fighter himself, just as much as any other of these cars on the field are. Homer is not going to take that one lying down. You can see him already breathing down that Ferrari's neck, again trying to exert that pressure, that power against another car. We're getting reports of a on-track incident, so we're just going to see exactly what has happened. This is going to be Colin McNair. You see exactly what happened. You see big slip angle coming in, just correcting it. Very nice there from the McLaren. Although not so lucky on the final corner. Big wall impact. And unfortunate that that is going to be where they land out of all of this. To the point where Pedro Serrano is also checking in and catching up onto the back of McNair. He lost some big time there and potentially put any chances of a top 4 placement in jeopardy. Remember, he wants to be getting up into those podiums. We're coming up to the final 10 minutes. And that leaves us about 6 laps, if not 7. A big thing with this stage of the race is what feels like on the face very complex, but when you start to think about it, it's actually quite simple. The final 10 minutes are all about locking in your places. Now, I think the race situation might change. You have to be flexible, and you cannot realistically plan around the race's finish at that stage without getting at least a little bit closer. But starting to predict and worry about where you end your race is so important in a scenario like this, son. Not only are you ensuring that you make it to the end, fuel and tyres, but you are also making sure that you are not going to be compromising your position, that you are not going to be unnecessarily developing on your position, and that you are keeping it safe against any defenders. So you will have a lot of drivers who continue to push as they have. In fact, I'm seeing that right now. Austria getting very close to the back of Serrano. Maybe he wants to make this a double duty to make it a top 5 full flush for the pros. Or the golds, I should say. Simultaneously, however, drivers will begin to hodl. They will begin to lock down their positions and go for a bit more of a defensive run. They don't want to lose their spots. They may have to go a little bit offline and lose themselves proximity to the car ahead, but if they're not focused on the car ahead, what's there to lose? You simply save your position. Let's say I was Serrano right now, I would not be attacking on the likes of McNair. I would instead be focusing on improving myself and keeping my race under control in order to secure the P6, because the P6 is still highly valuable. And that will not stack up if you have an issue and you do not deal with it in the correct way. Final 10 minutes now. We're on board with Serrano because Serrano has got McNair ahead and Austria's behind. And a little bit of deja vu to boot. But where it's going to go from here is anyone's guess. But this trio of cars is not giving anyone the space or the time of day just yet. Jumping to the bottom of the field, we do have a bit of movement. Blue flags briefly coming out, but we are down to 27 cars. 32 starters, 27 race finishers, it looks like, unless we drop any more in these past 10 minutes. Also, though, trying to rebuild from the P26 he's currently sat at into potentially even 25s and 24s. But there's over 10 seconds between Mellon and Thompson, so that is not necessarily looking likely. Oh, looks like we've had a bit of an issue. We have had Serrano lose the car. Let's review. Let's jump on board with the helicam now. Heading into the first corner. Of course, behind McNair. Tries to keep their cool. Braking way too late there. Jumping the rear of the car right into the air. Very much a late break and not doing themselves any favours. They're going to rejoin in P9. But there's going to be another car that is off track. And that is McKibben. What's happened to them? Let's also see here. We jump through the first corner. We see what could have possibly happened. And oh, just seemingly losing control or losing some kind of contact in order to put himself directly into the pits. Melon is in P25, seeming a little bit worse for wear. And also just recovering from a falter off into the gravel traps. Damien Reed. Ferrari driver now. And big attack. Well, we're just getting reports from McKibben himself that his game froze. Unfortunate to hear, mate. Unfortunately, technical issues, nothing you can do, but a brilliant race nonetheless. Done exceptionally here. Hold head high. Ready for the next round. Still one that you can take pride in. Yeah, I think it is, as Beth said, it is sometimes just tough luck. Sometimes things can be unforgiving. Reed right now is not practicing that forgiveness, is practicing that aggression. Cumberbatch is going off along with another car. That is going to be Jero Uso. I'm not actually sure what happened between himself and Urso there, but let's take at least a look on Cumberbatch's perspective. See where the attack is for him. Of course, heading into turn 2, things all seem normal. We do see that Urso is swerving and oh, okay. Nowhere to go for the Mustang. Big bump on the back of the Ferrari there. Sneaky move. Cumberbatch dropping a good amount of pace, letting Paul Wallace seemingly go by. Not wanting the fight where need not be. Here, final 5 minutes, folks. And let's take a quick recap at the top of this field. We have Lindblom, now over 16 seconds behind. Or ahead. Sorry. Because Rates is in second, 6 seconds ahead of Wolfslenner. All drivers doing very well, holding their own, committing to the full race, and the pace is on point. Meanwhile, we have Colin McNair in 6th place for the silver class, with Serrano and Starkey taking the fight to the field as we speak. And then rounding it off, you have Stephen Howes, high class bronze driver, along with Hamby and Hughes taking the 2nd and 3rds here. So Hamby very much clawing that position back, as said, with that consistency, with that just simple pace. No over strategizing, no overthinking, just a driver in their car. Howes is dropping down from Larson. I think maybe there's a little bit of a confidence point that is not being fully leveraged to potential. Howes is going to remain close, but that exit turn 1 looked like Howes is not going to be getting that P7 back just yet. There's going to be a incident being reported, the number 6 of Homer. So let's take a look from the helicam. Penultimate corner now. All looking clean so far. Come to the final. Of course, big camber adjustment onto the curbs. And whoa. Looks like we've had an issue of our own here. As that is going to be Homer just stuck on track. They're going to be stopped on track, folks. The infield, but that doesn't change anything. Could there also be a technical issue for him? As Homer is now in the pits, it can be confirmed. In the pit lane. It is going to be yielding to the flags. As that is going to be Zintas, our second place protagonist. Pushing to at least try and close the gap. 17 seconds between him and Lindblom is not an easy feat to manage, and especially considering we are on the penultimate lap now, I will be very impressed if he makes to even a quarter of that gap in time. We are Lindblom about to come to the line now for the final lap of this race. And over 38 laps later, we could make it to lap 40 by the end. Not to mention. So there is the race control call. The race leader is on the final lap. Fortunately, it does look like Homer suffered from a disconnect of their own. So we're down to 25 drivers from 32 starters. And of course, looking at this field, it looks like a quite substantial pressure is going to be coming from Wilson on Starkey in this next lap. But we only have 30 seconds before the checkered flag falls. And Lindblom crossing the line is going to be the decider. Is there going to be any last minute push coming from Lindblom? Maybe make a fastest lap on the exit. Maybe not. Doesn't look like it. But Lindblom taking an absolute scalpel to this blade fight. He's gone, and with such precision, poise and tact, seemingly just walked away from the rest of the field. Has not seen much in the way of threats to his current dominance, at least in races like this. But we come to the final corner, and we come over to see that David Lindblom is going to be the winner of round 6. Amazing stuff there from Lindblom. Congratulations on finishing that race. Zintas is going to be second place in the golds, along with Wolfslenner a few seconds behind. There we go here. You meanwhile have Colin McNair, who is fighting and racing hard. League owner not always getting the ability to jump in on the leagues that they make. But McNair has found an exception to the rule and has done very well with it, because Colin McNair, you are a winner of the silver class in the Season 6 Championship. The race is done. Lap 40 completed it. Now is just time to get everybody in. Not long now, we've already seen some of the back markers cross the finish line in time, so we're just waiting for the final drivers who have yet to cross that line. Habby, Reed, Hughes, Wallace, Cumberbatch. They are all here. But final stretch across the line. Cumberbatch, Aldhouse, Neve, and there you go, folks. That is game time and game set. So brilliant racing from everyone here. In first place is going to be David Lindblom, with Zintas Wright and Peter Wolfslenner in second and third for gold. Amazing stuff, folks. We'll certainly get an announcement in the Discord on that one, and join the Discord if you haven't already, although you will need to join the Facebook first. Looking to silver, we have Colin McNair, followed by Stephen Howes, just behind, leading the bronze class too, but we'll talk about them in a minute. Serrano and Starkey are going to wrap the podium for the silvers. And then Howes, as we just discussed, along with Hamby and along with Hughes, going to be second and third for bronze. But that, folks, is where we jump out and where we leave things for today. Now, I've got to say, folks, it's been amazing to have you in the audience to watch the great racing that we've had on show tonight. And as the session has officially ended, we are going to be ending as well. Do not go anywhere, however, as the next round is going to be an exciting one. It is a break week next week, unfortunately, but we are going to be heading to none other than Spa. So you won't want to miss it. In the meantime, folks, take care of yourselves. You've been an amazing audience. I will see you all very, very soon. Hope you've all enjoyed the stream. Voice your likes with the button or jump on board with the Discord and the Facebook, as we said. Subscribing to the YouTube channel, also pretty good help. That's all from me tonight. Once again, thank you all for watching. Good night, folks. We will see you in 2 weeks for Spa.